A white manager humiliated a black woman by pouring water on her for no reason. Seconds later, her CEO husband fired her, and that one splash sparked a corporate revolution. Security, get this woman out of my sight, now. Rebecca Stone's voice sliced through the gleaming marble lobby like a sharpened blade. The half-full water bottle tipped in her hand. A crystalline arc of liquid flew through the air, catching the light in slow motion, before splashing cold across Aaliyah Carter's face. The icy stream soaked her silk blouse, slid down her jawline, and splattered over her polished leather heels. "People like you don't belong here," Rebecca hissed, bottle still raised like a weapon she'd just used. 15 employees stood frozen in the lobby of Carter Tech Solutions, phone cameras silently recording every drop of humiliation. The poised black woman in the tailored suit didn't speak, didn't flinch, just stood there as water streamed down her face, her wedding ring glinting under the afternoon sun. Rebecca's lips curled into a self-satisfied smile, unaware she'd just set fire to her own career in less than 10 seconds. Have you ever watched someone commit the single biggest mistake of their life without even realizing it? 12 minutes until the CEO meeting. 30 minutes earlier, she wasn't Aaliyah Carter here. She'd signed in under her maiden name, Aaliyah Washington, and parked her black Tesla in the visitor lot. The custom plate read DNA Love, a wedding gift from her husband 3 years ago. In her hands, a handmade lunchbox wrapped in silver paper. Inside, David's favorite Korean bulgogi, cooked before dawn so it would be fresh. Today was their 5th wedding anniversary. Her plan, slip into the lobby, wait for him to finish his meeting, and surprise him. The marble floors gleamed like water under the afternoon sun pouring through floor-to-ceiling glass. Her heels tapped a clean rhythm toward the front. "Excuse me," she told Sarah, the receptionist. "I'm here to see David Carter. It's personal." Sarah barely looked up from her screen. "Do you have an appointment, ma'am?" "No, but..." Rebecca Stone appeared without warning, like a storm shadow. Head of HR, charcoal suit, arms folded, eyes scanning Aaliyah from head to toe. "The CEO doesn't meet with walk-ins," she said coolly. "I understand, but this is..." "Special occasion?" Rebecca cut in, her tone dripping with disbelief. "And your business with Mr. Carter is?" "It's personal," Aaliyah repeated, shifting her Hermes Kelly bag, worth more than some monthly salaries. But Rebecca's eyes didn't even flicker with recognition. "Personal," Rebecca mocked loudly enough for nearby staff to hear. "Let me guess. Another woman with a sob story trying to get close to an executive." Heat climbed the back of Aaliyah's neck. She'd lived through this before. Assumptions, stereotypes, the kind of dismissal you learn to endure. But never this loud. Never this public. "I'm his wife," she said softly. Rebecca's laugh was sharp, cutting. "His wife?" "David Carter's wife." She swept an arm toward the growing onlookers. "Do you see a resemblance? Anyone?" 3 employees stopped to watch. Then 5. Then 8. Phones appeared in hands like sudden blooms. "Women like you," Rebecca continued, voice rising for the crowd. "Always after something. Gold diggers, social climbers, whatever name you want." Aaliyah's fingers tightened on her bag strap. Her phone buzzed. David's text. "Looking forward to lunch. Love you." Jerome, the security guard, approached slowly. He'd been here 3 years, long enough to recognize every executive spouse from company events. Something about her looked familiar, but Rebecca was his boss's boss. "Jerome, perfect timing," Rebecca announced. "Escort this woman out. She's harassing staff." "I'm not harassing anyone," Aaliyah replied, her voice steady despite the burn in her chest. "I'm here to bring my husband lunch." She pulled out her phone, showing the lock screen, her and David at last year's Christmas party, his arm wrapped around her waist. Rebecca barely glanced. Photoshopped. Pathetic, really. "You people will try anything." The words hit like a blow. You people. This was a woman with an MBA from Wharton, fluent in 3 languages, black belt in Taekwondo, and weekends spent volunteering for literacy programs. But to Rebecca Stone, she was just you people. "Security cameras are rolling," whispered Martha, a senior admin who'd known Aaliyah for years, seen her engagement photos on David's desk. Rebecca spun toward her. "Recording what?" "Me doing my job, protecting executives from opportunists." The crowd grew. Lunch returners, interns, developers. A hum of whispers. Aaliyah glanced at her watch. 3:10 p.m. The board meeting would end in 5 minutes. She'd imagined greeting David with a smile, not standing here dripping in contempt. She held up her Tesla key fob, engraved DNA forever. I can call him right now. Don't you dare bother Mr. Carter with your games, Rebecca snapped, turning to Jerome. Remove her. Jerome shifted uncomfortably. Policy said he obey HR, but something here felt wrong. Ma'am, maybe you could just schedule. She's not scheduling anything, Rebecca interrupted. This is what happens when people forget their place. The phrase hung in the air like smoke. A few employees exchanged uneasy glances. 2 junior developers started recording in plain view. Aaliyah's wedding ring, matching David's in every board photo, caught the light. But Rebecca never noticed details like that. 8 minutes until the surprise was supposed to happen. I'm calling real security, Rebecca declared, meaning the police. The marble walls seemed to close in. 15 pairs of eyes. Cameras raised. Anniversary hopes crumbling into public humiliation. Please, Aaliyah said quietly, just tell David I'm here. Rebecca's cold smile didn't budge. She reached into the staff fridge, pulled out a full water bottle, and unscrewed the cap. No, you're leaving now. 5 minutes until the CEO walked out. The water exploded across Aaliyah's face, 16 ounces of cold contempt drenching her silk blouse, pooling on the marble at her feet. Silence. 15 employees frozen. Cameras capturing every drop. Only the drip of water onto leather broke the stillness, each one a ticking clock toward disaster. Rebecca stood victorious, empty bottle raised like a trophy. And that, she announced to her audience, is how we deal with trespassers. Aaliyah didn't move. Makeup streaked down her cheeks. The silver-wrapped lunch slid from her wet hands and clattered against the marble, a sound that made several flinch. Oh my God, Sarah whispered from reception. Did you just? I did what had to be done. Rebecca cut her off, raising her voice for the crowd. Lesson learned. We protect our executives from people who think they can just walk in here making demands. Jerome looked sick, hands trembling. Miss Stone, maybe we should. Should what? Show weakness? Invite every gold digger in the city to try their luck. More employees arrived. Phones buzzed with Instagram Live notifications. Viewer counts soaring past 800. Kevin, a junior dev, streamed steadily, comments flying. Is this real? / someone's getting fired. / this is insane. Rebecca gestured toward Aaliyah like she was presenting evidence. She claims to be David Carter's wife. Does she look like CEO material to you? Whispers rippled. Those who knew the truth stayed quiet. Those who didn't, some nodded along. Martha, pale and trembling, finally stepped forward clutching her tablet. Rebecca, I think you should know. Know what? That we should bow to every fake sob story. Martha's mouth opened, then closed. She'd scheduled David's appointments, ordered flowers for Aaliyah's birthday, seen the photos on his desk. But she also had a mortgage, tuition bills, a sick mother. She stepped back, shame heavy on her face. For minutes left. The live stream hit 1,200 viewers. Twitter hashtags forming. Aaliyah finally moved. Calm, deliberate, wiping water from her eyes. Her wedding ring caught the light again. 2 dragons intertwined, symbolizing their blended heritage. I'd like to call my husband now, she said, her voice steady. Your husband? Rebecca laughed, brittle and sharp. This fantasy ends now. She whipped out her phone. Attempted fraud. Harassment. Trespassing. Click. Flash. She photographed Aaliyah from every angle, reviewing each like a trophy. Phones kept recording. Nobody moved. Should someone call Mr. Carter? James, a brand new developer, asked. Absolutely not, Rebecca barked. The CEO has real work to do. He doesn't need to be interrupted by. She gestured toward Aaliyah, soaked but still composed. Ma'am, maybe we could just verify. Jerome tried again. Jerome, Rebecca's tone iced over. Are you questioning my authority? The guard froze. He had kids, a mortgage, insurance. He'd seen Rebecca ruin lives quietly. His eyes flicked between the wedding ring, the expensive bag, her posture, and the wall of phones recording. No, ma'am, he said at last. Rebecca's smirk returned. Good. Now escort her out and make sure she's banned from every Carter Tech property. Wait. Martha stepped forward again, tablet tight to her chest. The visitor log shows. Shows what? Rebecca's eyes narrowed. Martha's hands shook as she turned the screen. A Washington, 3:15 p.m., CEO personal lunch. Scheduled 3 days ago. The lobby went silent. Rebecca snatched the tablet. There it was, internal notes, anniversary surprise. Mrs. Carter bringing homemade lunch. Clear David's afternoon. Fake. Rebecca snapped, though her voice had lost its edge. Hackers can do this. But doubt seeped into her tone. Employees leaned in. Whispers spread. That's really his wife. / Oh no, she's finished. 2 minutes. Rebecca's grip on control was slipping. Phone cameras now pointed at her. Livestream comments turned vicious. CEO's wife. HR disaster. Still, she pushed on. Fake appointments. Fake photos. This is what I mean about manipulation. But the appointment details were too perfect, too deep in the system to fake. Aaliyah pulled out her phone. The lock screen. Her and David in the official company portrait hanging in the boardroom. I'm calling David now, she said, thumb hovering over the screen. No. Rebecca lunged for the phone. I forbid. The elevator chimed. Head snapped toward the executive lift, reserved for the top 3 floors. Rebecca's face drained of color. The polished steel door slid open. Time was up. David Carter stepped out. Charcoal suit, quiet power, the matching dragon ring glinting on his hand. He expected to see his wife smiling in the lobby. Instead, 25 employees stood around her, phones raised, water dripping from her hair, her silver-wrapped lunch lying crushed at her feet. Aaliyah. His voice cracked. Baby, what happened? He crossed the lobby in seconds, corporate mask shattering, cupping her face and wiping away the water with trembling thumbs. Instinctive. Protective. Unmistakable. Who did this to you? David's voice dropped to a low, lethal whisper that somehow carried across the entire lobby. The air itself seemed to pause. 25 phones kept recording, but no one dared breathe too loudly. Silence stretched between marble walls like a tight wire seconds from snapping. I brought you lunch, Aaliyah said softly, steady despite the eyes on her. For our anniversary. Apparently, people like me don't belong here. David's gaze swept slowly, deliberately across the room, reading every face, memorizing every witness to his wife's public humiliation. When his eyes locked on Rebecca Stone, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. The HR director froze, still clutching her empty water bottle like it might protect her. Her knuckles were bone white, her forehead beating with sweat. David's voice was so quiet that seasoned executives would recognize the danger instantly. She who? Rebecca's mouth opened, closed, opened again, but no words came. Employees instinctively stepped back, as if proximity to her might be contagious. The circle widened, leaving her alone in the middle, every gaze heavy with judgment. Martha, the administrative assistant who had been silent for 20 agonizing minutes, finally found her voice. Mr. Parker, I tried to warn her. Ms. Stone threw water at your wife. She called her a gold digger and ordered security to remove her. David's jaw tightened like steel. He took out his monogrammed handkerchief, DNA forever embroidered in elegant script, and began gently blotting the water from Aaliyah's face. The gesture was tender, intimate, protective. Every single person watching, both in the lobby and on the live stream, could see the love in his movements and the fury underneath. How long has this been going on? His voice was measured, but rage pulsed just beneath the surface. 20 minutes, Aaliyah replied, still holding her dignity like armor. I showed them our wedding photo, our appointment in the system. I told them over and over I was your wife. She called me a liar, said I photoshopped pictures to trick you. David's breathing shifted, slower, deeper, controlled. Those who worked closely with him recognized the signs, the subtle tension in his shoulders, the precise modulation of his tone, the way his free hand opened and closed. David Parker angry was not loud. He was calculated. He was dangerous. The Instagram live count flashed 4,200 viewers and climbing. Rebecca, he said, his voice cutting through the air like winter wind. My office. Now, Mr. Parker, I can explain. Her words tumbled out high-pitched, frantic. You didn't follow proper. I said now. He paused, looking at his wife's soaked blouse, her ruined hair, the quiet dignity she'd maintained through 20 minutes of abuse. Then his voice shifted, hardening. Actually, no. We'll handle this right here. in front of every single person who witnessed what you did. His arm wrapped protectively around Aaliyah's waist as he turned to the crowd. For those who don't know, this is my wife, Aaliyah Washington Parker. We've been married 5 years as of today, our wedding anniversary. She has an MBA from Wharton, speaks 3 languages, and volunteers every weekend for literacy programs. His voice rose, each sentence striking like a gavel. She came here this afternoon to surprise me with lunch. She woke up at 5 a.m. to prepare my favorite bulgogi, wrapped in silver paper with a handwritten anniversary card. He gestured to the sodden container on the floor. Instead of being welcomed into the building I built, someone threw water in her face, called her a gold digger, and tried to have her arrested. Rebecca's voice cut in, shrill, desperate. David, I was protecting you. She didn't identify herself. Anyone could claim. Didn't identify herself? His brows arched dangerously. Her appointment was in our system. Wedding photos are on my desk upstairs. Her name is on the permanent visitor list. You personally approved it. You processed her health insurance paperwork. You've seen her at every Christmas party, every summer picnic, every board dinner. Rebecca's face cracked, the logic collapsing under its own weight. You didn't recognize her because you never truly saw her, David said, voice sharp enough to cut glass. You saw a black woman asking for access to power, and you decided she didn't deserve basic human dignity. The words hung heavy in the lobby. Some employees looked away in shame. Others clenched their jaws in quiet anger, ashamed of their own silence. Martha stepped forward again. Mr. Parker, I have the security footage and appointment logs. I don't need footage, David cut in, raising his voice just enough for the live stream audience. I have 25 witnesses here, and 4,000 more watching online. He turned to the nearest phone camera. This is David Parker, CEO of Parker Tech Solutions. What you just saw is unacceptable. It violates everything this company claims to stand for, and it ends right now. He looked back at Rebecca, who was visibly shrinking with every word. Rebecca Stone, you are terminated from Parker Tech Solutions. Effective immediately. David, please, she begged, her career collapsing in real time. It was a misunderstanding. I was just being careful. Careful. Aaliyah's voice broke the silence for the first time since he'd arrived. Soft, but every word rang like steel. You were being careful when you called me a gold digger? When you said, you people don't belong here? When you threw water in my face? Rebecca opened her mouth, but nothing came out. There is no defense for the indefensible. David wasn't done. His fury had shifted into something bigger, a full-scale reckoning. My wife has been conducting research for the past 6 months with workplace equality nonprofits, documenting patterns of discrimination in corporate hiring. This wasn't a random visit. It was a test. And Parker Tech just failed spectacularly. Rebecca's knees nearly buckled. Whispers rippled through the crowd. They suddenly realized they were part of something far larger than an HR scandal. Aaliyah has hard evidence, David continued. Biased interviews. Qualified minority candidates being cut out at the HR level. And Rebecca, you've been the gatekeeper. The livestream comments went wild. Aaliyah reached into her damp purse and pulled out a waterproof folder, prepared for this very moment. In the last 18 months, Parker Tech received 847 qualified applications from black candidates. 731 were rejected in the first HR screening. She opened the folder, revealing printed graphs. In that same period, 1,203 white candidates applied for similar roles. Only 312 were rejected at the same stage. The statistical probability of this happening by chance? Less than 0.003%. The lobby gasped. The math was undeniable and damning. This research was conducted with the EEOC, David said, his tone carrying federal weight. It's admissible in court. Rebecca collapsed into a chair. 22 years in HR, a 6-figure salary, stock options. Gone in minutes because she couldn't see past her own prejudice. Every single person you shut out had bills to pay, families to feed, dreams to chase, Aaliyah said, her voice rising. The only difference between them and the ones you approved was skin color. She looked directly at the employees who had watched her humiliation. The difference between me and them is that I have a husband in power. I refuse to waste that protection when change could help hundreds. David's chest swelled with pride. Parker Tech will implement immediate reforms. Blind resume screening, diverse hiring panels, third-party audits. And we're creating a $10 million fund for workplace discrimination research and legal aid. Gasps. Murmurs. The weight of the number alone carried across the internet. We're also partnering with Howard, Morehouse, and Spelman to build paid internship pipelines. If we've excluded talent, we're going to seek it out and invest in it. He checked his watch. 3:47 p.m. 32 minutes since Rebecca's first racist assumption. 32 minutes that had turned an anniversary surprise into a corporate revolution. Ms. Stone, David said with finality, security will escort you out. Your access cards are deactivated. Company accounts frozen. 2 guards stepped forward. The phones kept rolling as Rebecca made her walk of shame, powerless for the first time. The live stream hit 8,500 viewers. Hashtag Parker Tech discrimination, hashtag workplace justice, and hashtag corporate accountability trended nationwide. David Parker had just turned his wife's humiliation into a masterclass in leadership. And Aaliyah Washington Parker had become the face of workplace equity for millions. Executive conference room, 4:15 p.m. The mahogany table stretched 12 feet, surrounded by leather chairs that had hosted billion-dollar deals. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, where news vans were already swarming the lot. David sat at the head, laptop open to a flood of notifications. Aaliyah was beside him, wearing his spare shirt over her stained blouse. Across from them, Crisis Counsel Lisa Park, VP James Rivera, CFO Michael Torres. The numbers are staggering, Lisa said, scanning her tablet. We could face class action suits from 731 candidates. At $75,000 average settlement, that's $54.8 million in exposure. Michael didn't look up from his laptop. That's before punitive damages, legal fees, or stock losses. We're already down 12% since the live stream went viral an hour ago. James leaned forward. The board wants answers. Rebecca Stone was my recommendation 2 years ago. 96% of applicants screened out at initial review. I thought it was efficiency. Efficiency. David's tone was ice. That's what you call systematic discrimination. Aaliyah spread her charts across the table. Rebecca rejected black candidates at a rate 347% higher than equally qualified white candidates. And the rejection notes. She pulled one file. Marcus Williams, MIT, 3.9 GPA, internships at Google and Facebook. Rebecca's note. Seems aggressive, might intimidate colleagues. David's jaw tightened. What was aggressive? He asked about advancement opportunities and diversity programs. Aaliyah said flatly. Lisa's face darkened. That's textbook discrimination. The EEOC will tear that apart. Michael pulled the projection up on the big screen. We're looking at $54.8 million in settlements, $15 million in legal fees, and $200 million in lost market value. The air felt heavy, toxic. And that's just the money, James added quietly. We've lost the trust of clients, talent, and investors. In tech, reputation is currency, and ours just tanked. David rose from his chair, moving toward the glass wall where a growing wave of protesters swarmed below, placards raised high. Justice for Aaliyah. End corporate racism. His voice was low, almost haunted. 2 years, he muttered. Rebecca ran this system for 2 years, and we never saw it. James, grasping for defense, spoke weakly. The numbers looked good. High efficiency, low hiring costs, quick turnaround times. Because she was cutting out qualified candidates before they even reached you. Aaliyah shot back, her tone razor sharp. She slid another chart across the table, hiring patterns broken down by department. Engineering, sales, marketing, all had requested diverse candidate pools. All had been sent the same demographic profile. Rebecca had strangled diversity at the gate. Lisa's voice was measured as she read from her tablet. Griggs versus Duke Power Company, 1971. Supreme Court ruled that practices with a disparate impact on protected classes violate Title VII, even without intent. Meaning? Michael asked. Meaning, she said firmly. Intent doesn't matter. Impact does. And our impact is documented, quantified, and live-streamed to 5 million people. David returned to his seat, decision already forming in his mind. Our legal exposure if we settle immediately versus fight? Immediate settlement, $60 to $80 million total, Lisa replied. Fight and lose? $150 to $300 million, plus years of headlines tearing us apart. Settlements could take 6 months. She hesitated. There's more. DOJ called 20 minutes ago. David's voice cut through the noise. Here's what we do. Full transparency. Immediate settlements. Complete cooperation with federal investigators. He turned to James. You're staying. You fix this. Overhaul HR completely. Relief flickered in James's eyes. Lisa, draft settlements. Fast, generous, no bargaining. Michael, prepare disclosures. We show commitment, not fear. Finally, David faced Aaliyah. Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer. Direct report to me. Full budget. Board access. She smiled faintly. I accept. But I have conditions. Anonymous reporting for all employees. Quarterly public diversity audits. And partnership with NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Done. Lisa's voice cut in again. Rebecca's threatening to sue for wrongful termination. Claims the water incident was out of context. David's jaw tightened. The context is she threw water at my wife and called her a gold digger. What context excuse is that? She says the live stream ruined her career. Aaliyah laughed softly, not bitter, amazed. She ruined her own career by discriminating against 731 people. The stream just showed the truth. Michael glanced at the news feeds. Public's calling it victim blaming. It's backfiring. Let her sue, David said coldly. We have witnesses, footage, documented bias, and millions who saw what she did. Lisa nodded. I'll prepare our countersuit. The crisis meeting was ending, but the real war had just begun. Parker Tech had 48 hours before the DOJ went public. David's final words were steady, resolute. This story will inspire others to speak. We're not just fixing Parker Tech. We're raising the standard for everyone. Outside, the sunset cast gold over a company that would never be the same. 3 months later, the bronze plaque read, Parker Tech Solutions, Certified Best Place to Work for Diversity 2024. Digital displays tracked real-time workforce diversity, 47% women, 34% people of color. In her corner office, Aaliyah reviewed quarterly reports. Her $15 million budget had turned Parker from liability into leader. Martha, now director of inclusive recruitment, showed DOJ investigators their blind resume system. Names, photos, demographics stripped before review. Black candidate advancement up 340%. Hispanic up 280%. Women in tech up 190%. When managers can't see identity, Martha said, they focus on merit. Michael's financial report was stunning. Diverse teams generating 23% more revenue per project. Customer satisfaction up 31%, retention up 45%, saving $8.2 million annually. Settlements had cost $67 million, but increased performance had brought in $94 million in new revenue. They hadn't just recovered, they'd gained. Jerome, the security guard once caught between rules and conscience, now ran employee advocacy. In month 1, his anonymous reporting system logged 247 incidents, all resolved in under 72 hours. People aren't scared anymore, he told investigators. They know they matter. The Parker standard spread. 12 major corporations adopted similar systems. Harvard Business Review featured them, and Congress drafted new federal guidelines based on their reforms. Rebecca's lawsuit was dismissed. She retrained, earning $42,000 at a nonprofit compared to her former $180,000. Her written apology, I let bias override judgment. I harmed those who deserved better, was now required reading in business ethics classes. The DOJ's Sarah Rodriguez closed the case. Parker Tech has exceeded compliance. They've set a model for corporate reform. That night, David and Aaliyah reviewed their wins. 89 interns hired from HBCUs, 97% retention. Their personal humiliation had become hope for millions. The hashtag Parker Tech standard trended as more companies announced changes. 1 year later, at the National Civil Rights Conference, Aaliyah stood before 3,000 business leaders. Behind her, a screen displayed their metrics: 47% diverse workforce, $94 million revenue gain, 97% satisfaction. Workplace discrimination isn't just morally wrong. It's economic suicide, she said. Companies lose billions rejecting talent because of bias. Her story had gone from viral scandal to an MBA case study, from personal pain to the largest workplace equity movement in decades. Federal law now required diversity reporting for government contractors. The question isn't if discrimination exists, she told them. It's whether you have the courage to expose it and demand change. The live stream of her speech drew millions: workers, CEOs, students. Comments poured in. This happened to me at Microsoft. Finally, someone fought back. Jerome now ran advocacy programs for a dozen companies. Martha was VP of Employee Relations. Even Rebecca found redemption, helping other businesses identify bias. Parker Tech's success proved diversity was a competitive edge. Stock price up 67%. DOJ using their model for settlements. Aaliyah's consulting firm had guided 89 companies through transformation. Her closing words hit like a hammer. If you've been discriminated against, document it. If you've witnessed bias, don't stay silent. Neutrality enables injustice. Standing ovations erupted. Hashtag Speak Up for Justice trended worldwide. That night, scrolling through the flood of stories and pledges for change, David whispered, 20 minutes in our lobby changed everything. Aaliyah corrected him softly. No, 20 minutes revealed what was already broken. The change came when we refused to accept. Now the question is for you. If you were in Aaliyah's place, would you have stayed silent or put the truth out for the world to see? Every single day, stories like this unfold in corporate America. Some get told, most get buried. Don't let your story be buried. Share your experience in the comments, whether it's a win or a wound. Your words might give someone else the courage to stand up. This wasn't just Aaliyah's victory. It was the voice of everyone who's never been heard. Black Nation Strength brings you real stories that cut deep but ignite hope. Subscribe, share, because your voice isn't just a comment. It's a spark that can change an entire industry.